really important impacts for our programs. Now, several of you probably I hauled you into some of this. This summer, we also had a Noaa site review team that came for 2 days and looked very carefully at our program, looked at the transition we've made, the reorganizations that we've undertaken, and just a couple highlights of that I want to show you and share with you here. Some of the findings. This is their text directly out of that report in the findings section about how successful we have been in that reorganization, in the transition to a new director and our senior staff and a new host institution at VIMS, but also at the same time retaining the strength of the program in the past. Really praise the strategic planning process as broad-based and participatory. Very much this event is part of that. Highlighted the robust use of our advisory board structure. Many of you are part of that, and I hope it's reflecting that we're an open, transparent, and inclusive organization, and we're really interested in hearing getting that kind of input, and the continued strength of the programming that you see in advisory services and education. So the highlights of the findings from that site review team report. There's further work that we're doing, and you'll see a little bit of that coming up in where we go next that came out of this report as well, but that's the highlights. Now, the other thing that I mentioned during the beginning is that Virginia Sea Grant strives to be adaptive and responsive to changes, and some of the changes are things we love, and some of the ones are things we don't love. It's never fun to have capacity be reduced, but we have seen retirements happening, and we are seeing folks like John Lucy and leave from retirement. George Flick, who's retired this summer but is very active and remains active. Chris Hager, who left our program over the summer as well when a grant expired. Just before 2010, Bill DePaul retired. In a month or so, Mike Osterling's going to retire. That reflects 200 plus years of experience in a program. It's really hard to accommodate that all in Mike O, all of 200 years in Mike O and the rest of the guys. But so it's not easy to be adaptive. At the same time, we do have some new faces coming on board. Susanna Music is here. Susanna in the back, welcome. Is taking on the role that John Lucy held in the recreational fisheries area, and Karen Hudson will be joining us soon with some funding from the aquaculture extension research grant that we just secured. So there's some new faces, but it is a tough. Everybody recognizes it's a tough budgetary climate, and it's been very difficult to keep pace with reductions in FTEs. The other aspect of being adaptive is seeing when opportunities are there and taking advantage of those. And I'll hit the highlights here, and we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about these. But there were a couple national strategic initiatives administered out of the National Sea Grant Office that Virginia Sea Grant and Virginia-based PIs competed very well and succeeded in securing resources. For aquaculture research, there's 2 of those projects. Aquaculture Extension, which is supporting Karen's position. There was some additional funding in the Coastal Community Climate Adaptation Initiative, which we're using in the Coastal Community Adaptation funding stream. And there's a couple new regional opportunities. One is in sea level rise and inundation funding we secured, and with invasive species that we're a co-PI with Maryland Sea Grant. So, and I'm going to come back to this a little bit later, but the ones that are in blue, that reflects projects that we're then turning around and putting those monies back on the street for competition in the state. So we spend our time on, and where did our money go? Kind of breaking it up by our strategic plan focus area, and I'll admit this is actually not an easy task to do, because many of our activities blur and cross those lines. They're cross-cutting in so many ways that they address a couple focus areas at the same time. but over 60% of our program has been in areas of safe and sustainable seafood supply issues. We're seeing a steady and increasing expectations in areas of sustainable coastal development and in hazard resiliency in coastal communities, as well as the ongoing programming that we do in ocean and coastal literacy, and a lot of our research activities, which also touch on the healthy coastal ecosystem activities, and probably also the interface between those healthy coastal ecosystem issues and sustainable seafood. What does that look like from a money perspective, and a little bit about how we function? If Sea Grant is a federal-state partnership program, we are state employees and at VIMS, and we have a federal contribution and a state match. And if I just took that federal contribution for a minute and broke it into the sections, about 33% of our money is available competitively for folks in the state. A little hair over 40% is embedded in our extension and our educational programming, a bit under 10% in our communication activities, and 17% in the administration within this pot. It doesn't quite, if you put match in there, it's a little bit different. We match differently on these portions, but that's how the federal contribution breaks up. We're annually about a $2.2 million program from a base perspective. But what I want to highlight is the base doesn't really tell you the picture. That's our base. That's our core. But we secured additional monies this year, additional monies from Noaa in a number of different areas. I mentioned those 5 canals fellows, the aquaculture research programs that were secured by researchers in the state, the aquaculture extension monies that were added this year, some smaller projects that were for specific projects from National Sea Grant Law Center to do some policy studies work, a cat share workshop that took place, that coastal community adaptation initiative that I mentioned earlier, the NSI, the National Strategic Initiative in Invasive Species, where we're the co-PI, and that sea level rise, the mid-regional project that we secured money for. These are all monies that we're adding to the base. Some of them extend over a couple years or 3 years, but that means that we took our core up to $3.4 million, 140% more than we started from, with these additional being responsive to opportunities. And if you take a look at just a few of these, we then turned around. That's our typical core research pot that's available on an annual basis that we put out in our RFP. We had increased that pot to over $800K available competitively to the state through this opportunity to be adaptive and responsive. So I think it just reflects how this base investment actually lets us be a catalyst to bring in a lot more federal resources, things that we could never have gotten if there wasn't a Virginia Sea Grant program, and reflects a bit of the kind of role that I think a Virginia Sea Grant plays. So that's what we did. So where are we going? And what does 2011 look like? Well, today and over the next over the year in different stages, we are launching our website and really what I view as a very comprehensive e-system. Sure, the website, and it's running in the back, and you'll see some of this, is the portal. But behind this is sitting a comprehensive document and data management system database that, on one hand, it's doing some of the simple stuff. Researchers can come in and load their research proposals there. Peer reviewers can come in and download files that they need to review and upload their reviews. Progress reports can be reported and submitted this way. It's going to be the central portal for a lot of that communication. But it's also going to be, turn that around, and it's the searchable database where outside folks who are looking and interested in these topics can come and search the database to see what has been funded in Virginia Sea Grant on different activities, what kinds of extension and educational programs have been underway. It's pretty multimedia. We've been running a regular seminar series that gets webcast off of our website. That will be posted here too. Those galleries are available. It will be a resource library of presentations. The annual report, which is being recorded here now by our little fuzzy hamster Mike that we call, that will be available online every year. There will be an annual report posted. It will be the portal to the social networking site that's available as well for all of the students. They can access it through this route as well. So it's taking Virginia Sea Grant and launching that electronic face as well. And you'll see again some of the, you can't see it well here, but many in throughout here and here are a lot of the watermarks that are our branding identity.